Welcome back to Caterpillar Summer as we read Chapter 31. Macon hooped and hollered as they approached Stonehouse. The other Kincaids joined them, and the driveway was crowded with people laughing and talking. The screen door upstairs snapped open. Kat held the trophy behind her back. Lily hurried down the stairs and looked back and forth between Kat and Macon. They both managed to keep a straight face. "Well?" Lily finally asked. Kat held her trophy in the air, beaming. "Second place!" Lily squealed and clapped before enveloping Kat in a warm hug. "She did great. Stayed focused on her goal," said Macon. "You've never gone fishing until you got here. Look at you now," said Lily. Kat thought back at the day she arrived, when she decided she and Macon would never have anything in common. A lot had changed. "I couldn't have done it without Macon." He shook his head. "You're tenacious, Kat. You know how to dig in and fight for something you want." Lily beamed at them. Her eyes looked shiny, too. She cleared her throat. "That reminds me," she said to Macon. "Didn't you have something you wanted to show Kat?" Macon wiped his hands on his shorts and went on to his workshop. The rain around them changed from a pattier to a pounding. A puddle of water collected in the driveway, and Nettie stomped his feet. He wore rain boots and owl pajamas. "Where's Chicken?" "He fell asleep on the sofa," said Lily. "We'll wake him in a bit." Macon returned carrying something large and heavy. It was the wooden sign for the house, the one that said the Stone House. Kat was confused. She knew the sign had been down, but she wasn't sure why he wanted to show her. "You fixed the sign?" Macon brought it closer, and she saw underneath the thick letters were two new carvings. To the left was a chicken, to the right a cat. The chicken looked playful and happy. The cat was serious and strong. Kat traced the grooves in the wood. She was Cat, not Caterpillar. Somehow Macon knew. "I fixed it," said Macon. "Or I guess you could say that you and your brother did." Her happiness warmed her to the end of her finger and toe. Macon hung the sign and everyone clapped. Dean rubbed his hands together. "Now, how about that hot chocolate?" Kat was up the stairs 2 at a time. She couldn't wait to show Chicken the trophy. She walked softly so she wouldn't startle him. The sound of the rain was just as loud as it had been outside, and the wind howled through the open sliding glass door. Kat frowned. The door was never left open. She turned to look at Chicken on the sofa. She wanted to see him snoring and sweet, tucked under one of Lily's quilts. But he wasn't there. The couch was empty, except for the twisted quilt and a small plastic shark with chewed-up fins. "Chicken?" Kat looked around the room wildly. Cold fear pricked the back of her neck. "He's not here." The group was still coming in the kitchen door, but Lily heard her. She crossed the room quickly and looked at the sofa. "The bathroom?" Macon frowned, concerned. "No, I was just there." He paused for an instant, thinking. "I'll check the bedrooms." His feet thundered up the stairs. Kat clutched the plastic shark. A breeze blew through the open door. He definitely would be upstairs. Another silly mix-up. She heard Macon's feet moving from room to room. He called out, "He's not here, up here. Lily, he's not here." The chill from the open door grew stronger. Lily stopped. "The basket was here when I left. Where is it?" It wasn't there. Together they looked at the sliding glass door. Was it open wide enough for a scrawny 7-year-old to fit through? 7-year-old who thought he was a shark researcher carrying the laundry basket he thought was a boat? Miss Willis pulled out her phone and started dialing. "I'm calling search and rescue." She began speaking in an urgent tone to the operator on the other end of the line. She's caught Lily's eye. What's he wearing? Lily bit her lip. Blue pajamas with sharks. The floor felt uneven. Kat thought she might throw up. Macon crossed the room in 2 steps. He slid the glass door wider and stepped onto the deck. Dean and Mr. Kincaid were right behind him. As if it were happening from far away, she heard Mrs. Kincaid tell Walt to knock on the neighbors' doors. Walt raced out the door in a blur. Nettie and I will search upstairs, she said. We'll double-check the closets and under the bed. She paused, looking at Kat. We'll find him, honey. It will be okay. They dashed up the steps before Kat could answer. He wouldn't be upstairs, Kat was sure. A horrible thought occurred to her. She couldn't get in enough air to breathe right. But she had to talk. She looked at Macon and forced the words out. He has his boat, she said. He would have gone straight for the waves. She had to find him. She went to the door. No. Macon's arm stopped her. Stay here. The others headed down the stairs and on to the beach. Lily handed out flashlights, the same ones they had used hunting for ghost crabs. I'm going, Kat insisted. She pushed into Macon. He blocked her firmly, looking her in the eye. No kids on the beach. She pushed again. I'm not a kid. Macon's jaw squared. No, ma'am. A kid is exactly what you are. She shrugged. When he spoke, his voice was loud and commanding. No, Kat. We can't risk losing you. Don't make me waste time arguing. Get off the beach. Kat knew he wouldn't budge. If she tried to make a break for it, he'd chase her instead of Chicken. Macon was her brother's best chance, stubborn Macon, who'd walk the beach every day and knew it better than anyone. She looked at her grandfather. Bring him back, Macon, please. He was already turning toward the roaring ocean. I promise. With these words, he sprinted across the sand until he disappeared into the night. Flashlight beams scattered down the shoreline. Over the pouring rain and howling wind, the adult shouted Chicken's name. She watched through the sliding door, looking so closely. Her nose pressed the glass. The dark and rain made it impossible to tell which of the figures were Macon and Lily. Others joined the search and began walking further up the beach. Kat wasn't sure where they had come from. As if she had read Kat's mind, Harriet spoke. Someone sent an island alert. My mom or Miss Willis, probably. Kat turned to Harriet. But they got here so fast. Harriet nodded. On the island we worked together to survive. Waiting for help from the mainland would waste time. Kat realized she was gripping Chicken's toy shark. The fin dug into her palm. A whine of sirens echoed from far away. Harriet's freckles stood out against her pale skin. You don't know that he went to the water. I hate this waiting, Kat said. I wish I could do something, anything. You know, Harriet said, looking at Kat at the corner of her eye. Macon said no kids on the beach. He didn't say you couldn't leave the house. Kat swiveled to look at Harriet. Her friend was a genius. Can you think of anywhere else to check? Harriet asked. Kat had to think like Chicken, something she could do better than anyone. The memory of their San Francisco afternoon bubbled to the top of her brain. Chicken loved books. Gingerbread Island didn't have a bookstore, but the library, she said. He told me he wanted to play on the statues, but Lily made him go to the pier. Together they bolted for the kitchen door. They flew downstairs, made a sharp left, and charged toward downtown, running through the rain. Kat's thoughts swirled. She felt the sensation of her life splitting into a before and after, like the before and after of Daddy dying. If Chicken was lost, her life would be forever divided by this night. All of her before life would be on one side. The other side, past the moment of losing Chicken, would be after. If he was lost, she could never get back to the before. Her life would never be whole again. The sirens grew closer until a fire engine roared past. While the sirens would the sirens scare Chicken? Should she direct the firefighters? Kat wavered for a moment, but Harriet pulled up at her sleeve. My mom will wave them in, Harriet said. We have to check downtown. Kat nodded, and they kept running. They reached the library and saw at once that Chicken wasn't there. Harriet pointed to the top of the library steps where the roof extended, a shelter from the surging rain. When they reached the top, Harriet jiggled the door, but it didn't budge. She kicked it in frustration. Kat had let herself believe they would find him. Until then, she'd been able to force the idea of Chicken in the waves from her mind, but now it was like he'd been lost all over again. She wanted to cry, scream, or hit something, but mostly she wanted her brother, his light-up sneakers and his no-tear shampoo, his sharp facts and his airport meltdowns. Chicken! Harriet screamed, Chicken! From the top of the steps, they could see all of downtown. Miss Sunshine's ice cream had closed. Willis General's lights were turned off. No one was out for a walk in the storm. Harriet's wet hair was plastered to her forehead. Is there anywhere else? Kat squeezed her eyes shut. The rain plummeted the roof and splashed the steps. She couldn't keep her thoughts straight. There was an old sound in the distance, but it wasn't thunder. Kat frowned at Harriet. Do you hear that? Harriet tilted her head. A metallic sound arched over the storm. Screech, screech, screech. The girls turned to each other. The playground, said Kat. Let's go. Their sneakers squished as they ran across narrow streets, around a bicycle, and onto the park. The merry-go-round spun, but Chicken wasn't there. It was John Harvey. Kat wanted to cry. She stepped toward him. What are you doing here? Don't you know it's raining? John Harvey gave her a look, but didn't say anything. Off of all the faces in the world, she couldn't believe she was seeing this. It was so unfair. He was always in the way. Let me get this straight. You got kicked out of the contest, and instead of going home like a normal person, you sit on a merry-go-round in the pouring rain? John Harvey pushed his hair away from his eyes. I saw the alert about your brother, and I thought I'd look for him. I know he likes the playground. Lightning arched through the sky, following immediately by a crack of thunder. Startled, Kat clapped her hands over her ears. That's real close, said John Harvey. Dangerous. They went through the gate. John Harvey hopped on his bike. I'll look for him on the way home. You better go back. He pedaled away, splashing through deep puddles. Come on, said Harriet. She wrapped her arm around Kat's shoulders like she was protecting her, hurrying without running. Every time the lightning lit up the street, Kat gasped. She couldn't believe she was returning without Chicken. If Chicken was out in the storm, he would be so scared. She hoped they'd found him, hoped she'd see his little face in the window. They rounded the corner. The fire truck parked out front flashed its lights. Every lamp in the house was on, and unfamiliar cars filled the driveway. A small car screeched to a stop in the street. Mom jumped out. Her eyes were wild. Why is the fire department here? Are you okay? I'm okay, said Kat. But what? Mom's panic was rising, ready to fall off the edge. But what? Kat opened her mouth, but no words came out. She tried again. Chicken. Mom grabbed Kat's shoulder. What? What happened? Mrs. Gladwell, said Harriet. Chicken's missing. Mom raced up the steps, the girls following. Inside was warm, dry, and quiet. Mrs. Kincaid stood by the sliding door. Walt read a book to Nettie and a few other small kids Kat thought she'd recognize from the playground. Mrs. Kincaid saw them first. "You're back, thank goodness." "Have you found him? Have they found him?" Mom asked. Her voice was small and scared. Mrs. Kincaid shook her head slowly. "I'm so sorry they haven't." Mom pushed the sliding door and raced outside. Kat went to follow, but Mrs. Kincaid stopped her. "You promised your grandfather," she said. She hugged Kat and Harriet, even though they were soaked. "It will be okay," said Harriet. "It has to be." Harriet meant well, but she didn't understand. There was no guarantees in life. Kat leaned against the glass, staring at nothing. She did not want to know what it felt like to grow up without him. She did not want to miss him in all directions. "Go get some dry clothes," Miss Kincaid said. Kat and Harriet looked up in protest. "I know you don't want to, but I'm the mom on the premises, and I say you have to. It won't do any good for you to sit here shivering." Kat didn't have energy to argue. She climbed the stairs silently, changed into sweatpants and a hoodie. She grabbed some dry clothes for Harriet and out of the clean pile, waiting to be packed. Kat thought of packing and unpacking. She hadn't looked at her suitcase since the day Megan had met them in the driveway. She frowned. It couldn't be. Her feet barely touched the stairs. She crossed the kitchen to the refrigerator. On the wall, a row of hooks, each with keys dangling. Except one key was missing. Kat checked again, forcing her eyes to slow down. She searched the shiny white counter. She looked across the floor. No key. With each step to the elevator, her hope grew. There it was, the key in the lock. She pushed the button. She did not think. She did not hope. With a muffled ding, the elevator door slid open. Inside was a green laundry basket. Inside the green laundry basket was a boy in blue pajamas. He looked at her and blinked. Outside, thunder rumbled. "Hello, Caterpillar," said Chicken. "Want to go on a boat ride?" Whew. Tune in next time when I finish the book.